morning and afternoon and evening whenever you're watching this. I've got Daniel, the amazing Daniel from Applause Entertainment Australia with me. I know him quite well, not only as one of our clients, but also a friend now. And we have a great working relationship. But Daniel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Applause Entertainment, and your role?
Thanks, Sam. Yes, lovely words. Thank you. Feeling is mutual. So, Applause Entertainment is I kind of think of it as my first child, my baby. It's a passion of mine. I've been an entertainer now for 30 something years. And it really was a business that grew out of my passion for performing. And yeah, we're coming up to 20 years next year. And I've worked in the business as a performer and working as one of the co-directors with my wife, Louise, to run the business for the last nearly 20 years. So it's really been born out of a passion to perform.
Brilliant. And if you don't mind sharing, what was your first gig? Do you remember?
Wow. Yeah, actually, you know what? Well, I guess it started, if you call it a gig, was busking. I learned to juggle when I was 12 years old with a good friend of mine who ended up being a performer buddy as well. We started, you'd find us on Centre Road, Bentley, juggling at 12 and busking, which then led, I guess, a little bit of a busking career out the front of Luna Park and Burke Street Mall and yeah, looking back, that's quite young, but at the time it didn't feel that way. But it was the first time I can, viscerally, I can remember, gathering. I mean, I guess it's the basics of business, isn't it? It's the beginning of marketing. In busking, you have to gather a crowd. So even at 12, I found that I was really good at bringing, at developing and literally bringing a crowd in. And then that's the first stage, and then you have to do your finale, the big trick, and then you pass around the hat at the end. Whilst the hat wasn't as full as we probably would have liked to have been, and again, that's when you think about it, that's the first lesson, of business and in marketing, is you need to gather your audiences. And in some respects, that's why we've called Applause. Applause Entertainment was was a very specific name that we chose because we wanted our entertainment to be about the audience. We exist to perform for others. If we're just doing it for ourselves, then I didn't see the point. So the passion is really to entertain for others. So I guess my first gig was busking at 12.
Amazing. And it's really interesting that you talk about Luna Park, and I'm guessing this is Melbourne.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
brilliant. And so speaking of Melbourne, like how long did you end up doing that initial
The
performing on the
busking.
streets? Yeah.
Well, I guess, learning to juggle was was sort of my entry point to probably, juggling clowning and commedia dell'arte, which is the Italian masks. So yeah, it was I guess I probably did that for maybe 2, 3, 4. I don't know. I guess as my career, I'm still a clown today. So, I consider myself a clown, and even though maybe it's not always white face clown, but I do characters, and it's no different to sort of what I was doing then. But I guess the busking led into some kids' parties and clowning work and festival work. And was very passionate about studying clowning and commedia and archetypal characters and comedy. I loved all that sort of stuff. And my first gig was let me think about this. I think it was year 10, could have been year 9, actually.
Wow.
And we got picked up for a gig at Science Works, which is like a museum here in Victoria, in Melbourne. We entered some science show doing some juggling things, and then one of the judges was on the board at Science Works, and then they picked us up for school holiday to do shows at Science Works in year 9. So that was our first gig, I guess. I guess it just went from strength to strength from there. I've been doing it a long time.
There's nothing more rewarding than actually seeing people happy, and the way your face lights up, and every time we have these kind of conversations, that gathering of the crowd was not just only the attention, but it's also, now you can see the business relation in it. But I reckon your hidden talent is entertaining people and seeing them happy. And I think bringing that joy has really translated into what Applause is. And I know you've touched base already on, what you do at Applause. Just given the audiences we're speaking to, and, just from personal experience, when something is really broad, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly what someone does. And I would love you to elaborate on some of the characters you've done and enjoyed, just so the people can imagine out of this corporate look right now, and maybe like I love your Borat, for example. So just touch base on some of the characters you've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a really good question too. It's funny you pinpointed it actually perfectly. It was some years later that I was working with a mentor of mine, and we were doing some personal development courses, and I was helping to run those, and I was working with the marketing team there as well, and doing these personal development. And through one of these courses, which was called Living on Purpose, was all about setting goals and also distilling your purpose in life. And through these courses, I was able to funnel down exactly what it is that I love doing, or what was my passion. And I think that was very formative during those years. And I still carry that card around somewhere today. And it says, to bring joy. That is my passion, to bring joy to others. And I do that through comedy and interaction and characters. And at last count, I think I had last count I've had about 40 characters that I've done. Obviously, some are more regular than others, such as Borat, or I guess I did a lot of mime. Again, these are all clown characters, but yeah, I mean the characters extend into, depending on, like one of my more popular characters, his name's Dick Devereaux, and Dick's was invented because I was doing a lot of murder mystery nights and going into hens nights. So I'd be booked to do a murder mystery for a hens night. And if you go in as a guy, with a guy energy to a hens night, it's sort of like a tabernacle. And you kind of go in, and if you go in as a guy, they might think you're the stripper, or there's other connotations. So I had to kind of go in as one of the girls. So I went in with a very camp character, and Dick was born from that. And he's been one of my most successful characters because he's a bit androgynous in that he's a little bit feminine, he's a little bit masculine, like he's somewhere in between, and he loves everyone. And he just, he's complimentary, and he kind of flirts with everyone, and he loves everyone. He brings a lot of joy. And I can get away with so much more someone else than I can just me. And I think that's, in some respects, sort of like a mask. Again, that's the red nose or the white face of a clown. They're masks of different types. And again, this, I guess, relates back to the earlier work that I was talking about with Commedia and those archetypal characters. And so I just love getting away with murder and saying and doing things. And again, it's through those interactions over years that you learn where those boundaries are and when you want to cross them and when you don't cross them. And I've learned those the hard way, probably, along, by taking risks over the years. That's become harder, by the way, of late in recent years. But, you're always led by the audience in the room, and you need to be able to feel that out and interact appropriately at the time. And sometimes, it's just saying the right thing or the right innuendo at the right time. If someone's giving you something and you're responding to that, that makes the hilarity. Someone once said to me once after a gig, who writes your jokes, or how do you write your jokes? And I said, I don't write jokes. I don't write jokes. It's
I'm an
in the moment.
entertainer. I just entertain.
Yeah, responding. Yeah, exactly.
And it's one of those things where you are able to develop the skill of reading the room, because what you're explaining is that you're able to read the room and the crowd and able to warm them up and bring them to a certain level, which sort of reminds me of one of the recent events you have done where you, for the mobster, or maybe you can explain it better for me, but it gave me the impression that there was a bit of a pre-warm up before you actually engage with the crowd. So if you can touch base on that event and how it sort of speaks to the new change in applause entertainment and the master plan. So I would like you to tell me a little bit about that event and how it came about, and this concept of master plan in events entertainment in Australia, and how applause can make a difference for a corporate organization looking for entertainment.
Yeah, good question. So the master plan is something, applause premium is something that we're sort of have introduced lately, and that's really come out of a need for a lot of our clients, mainly corporate, but also private, who they have a big event coming up, and sometimes it's left to the PA to organise this event. Now, some PAs are great. and they're switched on and have done it before. They've got experience in creating events, and others, even if they are experienced, just don't have the time to do that because they're doing their job, their work. And so to organize an event for, say, their whole team or the management team, there's a lot of pressure riding on that for that to go well. And if we're going to take time out of the workday and we're going to invest in this experience for their team, it has to go right. And it comes down to the littlest of things that you needed to rely on someone with experience for. So often clients would come to us and say, we want to do X, Y, and Z, or we want to do a great team building event that brings the group together. And since COVID, more people are working remotely. Some people haven't even met since COVID. They've had new team members and they haven't come together yet. And so I think now more than ever before, bringing people together in fun, supportive, and interactive ways so that we really get to know each other is more important than ever before. But if you haven't got that experience of how to set that up, then you need to rely on us. So that's basically what happened. And with this particular event, and I think you're referring to this Aspire event that I recently put together for a company. So the way that came about is, again, they came to us with, we want to do a day. We love team building. We love games and activity. The teams love that. But when we do something like, they actually told me that, recently they went and did a lawn bowls or one of those activities. And whilst it was great, everyone kind of stuck to they didn't kind of come together. It was a bit disjointed as an event. So I started with our packages that I would normally sort of recommend, something like a murder mystery or one of our game shows, for example. And I'm like, that's great, but we need more than that. We'd like to do a whole day of something. I said, okay, cool. Do you want to organize it or do you want us to organize it? That was the first question. And she said, no, we don't have the time. We want you to do everything. I said, great. So I suggested that we had a master plan meeting. And what's the master plan? The master plan meeting is where we sit down with the client and we really go through what their needs are, what they've done in the past and what they'd like to do this time. So I sat there with the PA and her director, and we went through, I guess, the nitty-gritties of what they wanted. They wanted to do team activities, team games. They wanted it to be off-site. They wanted to have basically a whole day and, quote, a day that they will remember forever, not your standard days. The typical stuff that we would normally do, which is usually a 3-hour event over food and drink, wasn't enough for them. They wanted something a little bit more and more memorable. We talked about different themes, and then we settled on, I guess, the spy theme. And so I went away after this meeting of consultation where I got all the information. And I'm talking about how many people, where are we going, what do they want to do, does it want to be over food and drink? All those questions were written, and the master plan is a document that they can then take away, and it gives them an idea of budget. And that's the other thing I should probably point out too, that I did ask them, can you give me an idea of what you want to spend? Because I guess at the end of the day, I've done events, in boardrooms, and then I've done events in 5-star hotels. I've done even themed events, such as maybe a murder mystery in someone's garage. And then I've done it, fully themed props and sort of dropping a bomb on it. Now, I will say honestly that which one's more fun? We have fun at any of them. I can make it work because we are using imagination. We are using great actors and performers who are going to engage and create that world. So, however, knowing a client's budget does help kind of blinker me a little bit, because I can often run away and just go as big as I can and then have to be sometimes being brought down back to earth. In this particular case, they had a good budget. So I went away and the master plan dictated all the entertainment options, some venue options, and a whole bunch of activities that, in this case, fitted to a spy-based game. This company had kind of reminded me of North by Northwest, and kind of came to a sort of a Mission Impossible Bond meets Get Smart was my kind of vibe on this thing. So I'm always going for comedy, given my background. That's my shtick. So yeah, the master plan was given to the client with all those options, more than was necessary, because I really wanted to deliver all the options for them to choose from. And at the end of the day, this client can then take that document. Hopefully they go with us and we continue and deliver that project. But you know what? I don't mind if they take that and go, oh, we'll do this bit, or someone will do this bit and we want you to do this bit. What it gives them, empowers them with a budget, so that they can go away and understand more about what's required or what they have to spend. And so that's what we did with this particular client.
Beautiful. So essentially, that's a whole lot of innovativeness in your own business, actually. Just to summarize that really quickly, just so I can check my understanding. So you basically came across this client, they wanted to essentially get some entertainment for one of the events coming up. And just from that initial conversation, you were able to not only help them with the venue find, but you were able to put together three or four different ideas. And you said spy? You said spy
Yeah,
themed?
it's a spy
Yeah,
theme.
so
Yeah.
so they were basically being engaged in a way that maybe they were having some Easter eggs or something to find. And was there
Oh,
an engaging element to this?
absolutely. Well, in this particular case, I mean, there's the master plan and then what we actually ended up doing, right? So the master plan is this big, but then we narrowed it down to this big, right? But it included basically an event starts from the moment you invite someone, right? So, for this included a whole drip feed campaign before the event started where
Before you
surface.
continue,
Mm.
for a layman like me, what is a feed campaign?
A drip feed campaign, meaning that from the moment in this particular event, because it was spy themed, all the guests who were in this one company got an email first saying that they were headhunted by a top secret, agency. They were hit by a government agency, a spy agency. This whole thing was called Operation Golden Era. So Operation Golden Era were headhunting these employees to join the ranks. They're putting together a crack team. So more information was going to come, but please keep, it was a save the date, but in theme. So they received that. Then they received various different email drops with videos that were from Control. I was playing the chief character in this, and there was another entertainer who would be the entertainer that joined them on the day. And basically Agent 24 and the chief, we drip feed these emails, videos, and also we asked for content and gave them little missions. And I guess, depending on in this case, they weren't in all the one space. They were in different, some were seconded to different, they were, around the place. So, if they were all in one location, one of the ideas was to have a QR code hidden somewhere in the office that they had to find that would then link them to a video that would then, you know what I mean? So there was a few different drip feed before the actual day. And on the actual day, the performer who they'd already met we even did a Zoom beforehand with both of us.
Wow.
So we actually could entertain them and meet them before the day. So by the time the day came about and where the agent rocked up to the office, put them into teams, and then we loaded them on the bus, the game had already started. So they were invested into the game before the event even started, which is what we.
Look, and there's so much to this because I think I've seen one of these videos, and I believe you made custom videos for this particular event, which is above and beyond because I believe these are one-time use videos and they are done specifically for that client. And the production value on some of those videos, if I get an opportunity, I'll put it on the screen here somewhere. And the production value on that video alone is phenomenal. And what I'm hearing from you is that there were series of videos where people were getting engaged. Sounds like it, that those emails were just not normal text messages. They were engaging emails where
There were,
people were
yeah.
interacting.
Mm-hmm.
Was there an element where they have to record something and send it to you guys for extra points or something?
Well, the whole day was a surprise, obviously, for these, that they'd had no idea. And that's, again, one of the things that we established in the master plan meeting, that it was meant to be a surprise. And we wanted to create a little bit of intrigue, to sort of pulling them into the event a little bit. That experience with the lawn bowls, we wanted to do the opposite of that. We wanted to pull them in.
There's an engagement element to this as well because with clients, essentially, I can tell you from experience that 300-400 people will be sent an event, and most of them would try to opt out of it because they'll just like, what, it'll be just another night with drinks, and I'll just dress up. But this sounds purposeful.
This was an amazing game and day for them, and the testimonial says as much. But yeah, they once they. The videos that we created were yes, they were tailored, they were in character, in theme, and they asked them to do certain things. So like one of the things they had to do was they had to, without raising suspicion, send an email to someone in the office requesting the day off. That they had to start using their creativity. And for us as well, as entertainers, and we do this naturally at an event anyway, when we're meeting and greeting. Again, this comes from my years of experience of doing improvisation and character work. When you're meeting and greeting people as they're coming in, you're kind of, if you're going to host an event for 3 hours, let's say, you want to know, I always sort of think about it like, for some reason, like the bus. You've got the back of the bus. At the back of the bus is always the naughty kids, or the ones that are a bit more fun. That's the back of the bus, and then you've got the ones that are quiet at the front. And so I'm sort of, before the event, we're kind of doing some interaction, so we know who's going to be fun, who can we play with, who to look out for, who, you know what I mean? And so some of those interactions were really creative as well, which were brilliant. We wanted to see this. And in a later video, because we were doing a game show, a themed game show that night as spies, we incorporated, again, if the event can be tailored as much as we can to the group, to the players, that it's not just stock standard, it's tailored to them with their material. So we asked them to give us a series of information, such as what's their, like they had to give us their pet, a whole series of questions that they had to actually submit. And we took that information and we worked it into that game show later on that night. And they would not have known that that was coming. And so when it came up on the screen, it was obviously then they figured it out, but it made it about them. And again, this harps back to applause and it being about them and not about us. And if we can make them involved in the entertainment, and if we can make them, it's about facilitating the entertainment rather than just putting on a show. We're involving them.
And I think that's one of the winning points for applause entertainment, because again, addressing someone who's watching us for the first time and seeing you for the first time and understanding applause entertainment, quite likely jumping on Google and searching you guys. My take is that the master plan itself not only caters for the entertainment part of it, but you're a one-stop shop. Like, you can have a photographer, videographer, you can arrange, certain different entertainment for the entire day. So there can be some event in the morning, there can be something in the afternoon, and engage with a gala dinner at the end. You help with venue. Is there anything you can't?
No, honestly, no. We've done some pretty crazy things over the years. I guess because my passion is entertainment. That's really where my passion lies, given my background and what my passion is. But I can also acknowledge that sometimes you can book great entertainment, but if it's placed within the event incorrectly or hasn't been set up right, I'll give you a great example. Last weekend, someone hired a marching band to play a particular song as the guest arrived in Sydney. And the event went well and it went great. But when talking to the musician afterwards, they just employed us for the band, I should point out. But this is a great example. The band, because we always do follow up after an event with performers and with the client to see what went wrong, what went right, like we're interested in improving all the time. And the band said, and they learnt this particular song because that was the request. But because the DJ was playing so loud, they could have just been miming. They couldn't hear the song. It had a visual effect. It looked great, but no one heard the song. And likewise, sometimes early on in my career when I'd been booked through other agencies to, say, be a mime or something at an event, I'd rock up and the speeches are on. Now, if I start performing once speeches on, I'm going to upstage them. And so it's entertainment is just one element, but it has to be placed within the event. And so I guess the Applause Premium and the master plan is really more event management, because we acknowledge that if we got to stack the cards as best as possible for our entertainment to shine and for it to work. And so that comes down to the right venue, the right food, how much alcohol they've had beforehand, sometimes just the right amount. And there's so many elements that are involved. And yes, we can do everything from, over the years, we've worked with all the leaders in this industry and we know who to work with. And so it's just an easier place. It's a one-stop shop to come to us. But, again, sometimes people have their preferred suppliers. We don't mind. I don't mind doing various elements, but at least with that master plan, they've got a budget. They know what things are going to cost, and we work from there and refine.
Brilliant. Given that in the master plan, there is a room for roving acts, and I think in this industry, roving acts are massive. And one of the examples that I can think of, which, we did some ads for, was a Live Nation and Pink's recent concerts where you guys offered entertainment for VIP rooms. So not every event I'm guessing, would require a center stage and a performance, because when people hear this kind of chatter, they imagine a stage and a performer. So, captivating that crowd. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what kind of a roving acts you guys have and which ones are the popular ones?
Well, when we consult, if we're just looking at the entertainment And no matter what the client is, I'm always going to sort of, in my head, and which filters through to our quotes, is we divide entertainment into the following sections. There's welcoming entertainment, so something that's going to be at the door to welcome. So that could be anything from a fire performer to some silly security to fake paparazzi. It depends on what the theme of the event, literally what performance space is like. If there's a venue in Melbourne here that you have to enter a lift to get up to there. So we might put a comic doorman or something to do that. There might be a queue that we need to manage. So we're thinking about welcoming entertainment. And sometimes if it's, say, a networking event or something like that, where maybe not everyone knows each other, psychologically funneling everyone through that same experience is a great icebreaker, because as soon as they walk in, we've all just experienced the same thing and there's something to talk about. So the event it already starts with a bang. So there's a method to the madness. So that's welcoming entertainment. Then we go into the roving entertainment that you were just talking about. Roving entertainment, again, is literally roving entertainment. We're doing little shows or interactions with lots of different groups, and a great way to, again, build energy and support a theme throughout an event. The next section is shows and acts, which is everything from a DJ to a stage, more of a stage before everybody stop and watch. And, there's a million different, from magicians to the dancers to flash mobs to shows, circus acts. There's lots of shows that I could to put on. And then there's activity stations. So activity stations are things, I would class the casino tables as activity stations. I would, face painters, glitter bars, airbrush hats, or the list goes on. Shoe shine, there's just loads of but something that you're going to, I guess a photo booth is another activity stage, something you're going to go to, which you might place around a room. A tarot reader, and so those are the sections really that cover the holes or the opportunities, as I would say, in an event for entertainment. And the other thing I would add is, any time that we can give an entertainer a job or a role or some business, so it could be the cloakroom, it could be your registration. Anytime we can give them a role, that is not only makes the performer's job more fulfilling, but it's just a great way to sort of kill two birds with one stone. Horrible saying, but that's what I mean.
Beautiful. And just thinking like one of the event managers or your future corporate clients, like I'm guessing all the things you're mentioning, like fire drillers and RSA, people bartenders making drinks, or, your casino tables. So I'm guessing there is public liability involved, there is RSA involved, there are all the legal implications of anything that your performers are coming in and doing. A corporate client should be, at ease, and they're not going to be using real money or anything like that. So on the legal aspects of that a little bit.
Of course, obviously public liability, everyone, that's part of everyone that we onboard, all of our suppliers, performers, everyone needs to have insurance. If they're not covered, we're not covered. So we've got our insurance, they've got their insurance. And that's just, that's part of the course. To get on our, to work with us or to become one of our suppliers, you need to sort of be of a standard, and we do all those checks before that's the whole point of using someone like us, that you don't ever have to doubt any of that stuff. And often, with and increasingly as well, doing swims and doing, there's so much paperwork that goes on behind the scenes just for just to rock up and do the gig, and sometimes that's quite lengthy as well and time consuming depending on the venue. So that is all part of the job in the background. And in fact, our office has got someone dedicated just to doing that delivery, very much separate that in our office. We have the consultants that work the creative and big picture and really sort of work creatively. And then there's the sort of cut and dry delivery of that, which is
admin,
something that we spend a lot of time.
The less entertaining but extremely important part, but it is covered.
Absolutely. And sometimes it comes down to, depending on the gig, there's some serious risks involved in some gigs. And also, it's, like something like our Faulty Towers show. If we're doing a Faulty Towers show, which is usually, they're actually serving, or they might have to work in with the catering staff, we have to brief the staff. We have to explain, again, through trial and error. I learned how serious chefs are, and never go, you don't just want to walk into a kitchen as Manuel, and just to pretend like you're going to do, that's, some chefs are very serious, so others are sort of less so. But again, all those things are handled well and truly before the entertainment, the curtain goes up. And it's through communication and clear communication that is achieved. And that's very, very important for gigs like that particularly.
Beautiful. And, again, thinking about someone who's going to be seeing this and perhaps reach out to and book you, you know, it really takes that pressure away of curating acts and making sure that they're all legally compliant or not, or, what kind of admin paperwork would be required. And, you guys handling all of that really important, serious stuff in a simple, easy format, I think it offers a lot of service for someone who's already short on time.
Particularly as well, I think the other thing that we excel on is the fact that if you're a multinational or you have offices in multiple states and you want to replicate that, or you're doing a roadshow of some type, just coming to one performer that can then replicate those, including all the admin behind it to deliver it across multiple states is great. And obviously, if you do it in one, you know the gig, so that you can replicate it hopefully more easily in other states as well. And the other thing I wanted to sort of add as well in talking creatively with clients, we love to hear the client's vision, right? We definitely want to hear what are they visualizing, and we draw that out through the consultation, whether it be in the master plan or otherwise. But sometimes I've found that often people think, in movies, they think of the end result. They see they want to create a spectacle, or they have something in mind, but they're completely unaware of how to actually pull that off in reality. For example, creating if we're going to do a flash mob or something, and they want some sort of smash or something, something to kind of grab the attention. If you've got a room full of 100 people or less talking, it doesn't work like movies, where, it's live entertainment, it's live, and we have to think very differently to orchestrate. And I guess that's my theatre background coming out, and I know how to orchestrate that and make that happen. And so, yes, we want to hear the creativity, but in the actual application of bringing that to life in an effective way, especially if you're spending good money on it, you need to sort of stack the cards there and be working with people that are experienced to make it work. And so I think that's a real specialty of ours.
And anyone watching and trying to understand this part here, I'll make it simple for you. This is the difference between that one employee yelling at everyone saying, "Everybody, look over here, everybody," versus actually professionally doing it, creating engagement and excitement and bringing up the crowd to that level of energy, just the way a DJ would, a performer or entertainer in applause, I guess, is known for doing that. And I personally have seen many examples of that, and hence I just wanted to put my 2 cents in there. Jen, amazing time you've given us today. Just wanted to touch base on a couple of things before we move to closing remarks. You've got 20 years plus almost personal experience, and Applause got coming up this year, 20 years experience in this industry. How have you seen this change after COVID, and what are the trends you're seeing right now? What are the main couple of ideas that corporate and private event seekers are looking for at the moment?
I think the main change over the 30 plus years I've been working in entertainment has been, I guess, HR plays a big role now in corporate life, and in inclusiveness, and not wanting to offend, and it's we have to always think about inclusivity all the time. So I think that's a big one. There can be some positives and negatives with that, but it's something that we need to be aware of, and it's something that I'm constantly aware of when we're putting together entertainment. I think that's a big one. But you know what? It's really funny. Things come in cycles. The themed events, there's always going to be circus themed events. People always want to do, Moulin Rouge or French themed events. 1920. And so there's sort of some classics that will never die or never change. And so in some ways, nothing's changed. However, I will say budgets are becoming a little bit more conservative, I would say, as well. And so if we are spending some money, we need to make sure that we're getting bang for buck, we're getting quality. And sometimes I say to clients, we don't need to overindulge in the entertainment, but we have to do certain things correctly. And this comes down to that sort of formula and our approach. And so I think Yeah, I think being a little bit more budget conscious is probably the thing that I've seen for some clients. What else has changed? No, I don't think anything's really changed because we're people. Because people are people are people. Groups are the same now that they are before. The only thing that's a bit unique is that and one of the things that we did a lot of, and we're doing still now, is hybrid events or more sort of online events and using more, I guess, as I said, like I was saying before about the drip feed and even doing Zoom and stuff. We are a lot more versed in doing through COVID. We had to pivot a bit and do more online entertainment. And whilst there were obviously some negatives, we couldn't do we couldn't run a murder mystery the way we normally would. But by doing it online, we learned a lot more about performing online and what worked and what didn't work as well there. And so even today, we're still doing hybrid events, which I love because I learned from entertaining personally, doing game shows and murder mysteries online through COVID, that we could bring people together and, in a really great way and still, the sort of the points that I'm looking to sort of hit at a live event, again, orchestrated right. You have to have a vision switcher. You have to be in control of what the audience is seeing. You can't just rely on Zoom, So again, having control of that has been a huge learning curve. But we did some fabulous, really funny and engaging entertainment, and we're still doing that more of in a hybrid way today. Yes, we might be doing a live event, but that's being Zoomed, and we're actually bringing people in from different states who can't be there because I think people are less. They're travel conscious now, and so I think there are a lot more hybrid events. And we're down for that. We learned a lot through COVID that we can now benefit from in events now.
Yeah, and absolutely with the hybrid events or your face-to-face physical events, the one of the things corporates and company owners can benefit from is the culture piece you end up getting from one of the really well executed events, because those images and those videos will stay in that company for until the next year or next time it happens. And it really speaks that internal dialogue. So the return on investment on an event well done. As a marketer, I can tell you, like, we look for content from past and we'll refresh it and use it again to rebrand it if we have to. And yeah, so the stuff you
It's
do, I think the value of it just continues year after. Very difficult to tell what it was and what it is now.
it's really lovely when I speak to one of the one of the benefits of being around and this long, I guess, is that there are clients that might come to me. I had one yesterday. They've come for a murder mystery, and this particular venue, we did a gig for them, 15 years ago, I think it was, maybe more actually. No, it was more, and they're like, oh, I remember that gig. That was so fantastic. We get a lot of the time we have clients come back to us. And part of the reason why we've grown organically, because, I might have done a murder mystery one year. It was the best event we've ever done. What else have you got? So, next year, then we might do a game show. We might do, a casino. So we are constantly innovating and working with clients to sort of hit those marks. But it's lovely to be around this long and for them to remember it. And any time that we can, I definitely encourage, obviously, to film the event, to photograph the event, because those are mementos. Those are things you want to capture and can be used to show, prospective staff that might join that company. This is the sort of culture that we have here. This is what we do. This is how we value our staff, as opposed to the companies that just put a barbecue on and, in the car park. Hey, put the barbecue on the
I don't mind. I don't mind a good barbecue. Okay.
I was just about to say, put the barbecue on in the car park, but let's theme it up. Let's how do
Yeah,
we make that
100%.
a little bit more memorable?
I hear you. I hear you.
So there's loads of ways to do that. Absolutely. As I said, we work to all budgets.
Beautiful. And if you were to say any closing remarks to your future clients, like, what would that be? And, thank you for sharing this time. I will let you do the closing remark, and really, really appreciate your time today.
Look, our byline is captivate your crowd, right? Applause isn't really about captivating your crowd. So I guess a lot of people these days, they're looking for a price or they just want a quick answer. And if you want that, sure, we can send emails back and forward or whatever. But we actually value, we're consultants. And so for that to happen, we actually want to talk, whether that's in person, online, or via the phone. We want to engage with our clients to really understand more about what they've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, so that we can improve on that and really capture what it is that they're trying to do and who their audience are. And that can vary quite a bit. And it really also boils down to the venue that they might be in as well. So, it's one size fits all. It's actually through consultation. So I guess I just look forward to having those conversations in this day and age where information is so readily available. You can Google whatever you like. But if you want to take full advantage of our experience and who we are and what we do, it's really through a conversation that I need to sort of engage with you, at least originally, so that I can best give you and them the value that they're looking for, and ultimately a great experience and a great event.
Very beautifully said. Daniel, thank you so much for your time today, and forward to all the amazing events.
Likewise, Sam. Thanks for having me. I'll speak soon.